You guys just love SUVs. Every time we have news about a Fortuner or an Everest or anything similar actually, you guys flock to it like 10 peso per liter fuel.
And that's exactly what we have here with us today. Two top-spec midsize SUVs courtesy of Ford and Toyota. Even better, Driftwoods Action Park in Indang, Cavite has allowed us to use this beautiful patch of dirt to try these two cars out.
So it's time to play. I'm Anton.
And I'm Drei. And this is the big test.
And the ever.
I can't even talk.
As mentioned, we have the top-of-the-line versions of the Ford and the Toyota SUVs here. Now, I'm representing Team Ford with the Everest Titanium Plus 4x4. It's packed with loads of off-road tech, active and passive safety tech, plus a smart interior and that punchy 2-liter bi-turbo engine. Now, given how capable the older Everest was, we got high expectations for this fella.
And as for me, I have the keys to the Toyota Fortuner GRS. I know what some of you guys are probably thinking. It's just a Toyota Fortuner with a GR badge or a two-tone color scheme and fancy wheels. But it's actually more than that. This unit gets a new suspension setup and a new set of GR brakes. Will those additions be enough to help this compete against the newer competition? We're here to find out.
Now, both the Ford and the Toyota have punchy turbo diesel engines that pack over 200 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque apiece. Now, there's no doubt that they can lay the power down well on the road, but what if things are a little bit dustier? That's what we're here to find out. Right, so first test is acceleration. We want to see how the traction control system works out in this car and how it's able to lay down the power once it's on a looser surface. Let's go. Torque the engine in 3, 2, 1, let go. And that's 60.
Okay guys, so now it's the Fortuner GRS's turn to go through the acceleration test. I'm sure the Everest does more power, but if my numbers are correct, this is lighter than the Everest, so I still think the Toyota is gonna come out on top. Gonna turn on sport mode now, go into drive. $60. Acceleration is nice, but if you can't come to a stop afterward, you're gonna be in trouble. With that in mind, we think it's important to see what both of these mid-size SUVs are capable of in terms of stopping power. I think the Fortuner is gonna win, not just because it's got a new set of GR brakes, but also because I was watching Anton during the acceleration tests. Frankly, I don't think there's any way that the Everest is going to be able to have better stopping power than the Fortuner here. We're gonna get rolling to 60 and then I'm gonna slam on the brakes. I was able to stop right before this tree over here to my right. So Anton has a pretty clear marker of what he has to do to beat the Fortuner. Again, I don't think he's gonna be able to do it in the Everest, so we're gonna see.
Right, braking time for the Everest, and time to make up a couple of excuses here. I am carrying about 300 extra kilograms of weight, and I'm rolling on 20-inch alloys, which adds to rolling resistance. So if this overshoots the Fortuner braking mark, then you heard it here first. So let's get started. I can see Drei's brake marker, and I'm about a car length away from him. So yeah, that's the effect of about 300 extra kilograms added to this Everest. So test number 3 is all about handling, but we're also going to include ride here because we're genuinely curious how the GRS upgrades to the Fortuner have changed its dynamics. Right, so for this ride and handling test, we're gonna take this car off a beaten path, no hardcore off-roading here, but really we're just gonna see how the suspension copes with the bumps and how these cars steer when things are a bit loose. And right behind me is Drei to truly measure ride quality over in the second row. So, okay, so I already hear a grunt from Drei there, and we're gonna take it to 30 k's per. And Drei does not look comfortable there.
I have to say though, it's still better than the Fortuners.
On softer stuff, it's fine, but on more corrugated bits, I'm really not feeling too much vibration or harshness from up here. But how about you?
This is from someone who's been... Oh! This is from someone who was riding in the Fortuner. So it's kind of composed, at least compared to the other mid-size SUV we have. So if I sound uncomfortable right now, notice that I'm not holding any grab handles, so I can show you guys the true second row experience of the all-new Everest.
Okay, the light steering has its advantages. I can easily make adjustments to steering. Like, I'm not like heaving and hoeing everywhere and whatnot. It just makes turning so much easier. And that's a huge advantage if you're going off-road, at least for me. And with lighter steering, you're not gonna get tired out from the trails or the tracks.
Yeah. That's definitely an advantage.
Actually, we've all driven Everests, and it sort of reflects on its on-road characteristics too. So I'd have to say, good job to Ford for tuning the damping of the suspension for both on and off the road. So, I mean, yeah, Drei was being thrown around quite violently. There are probably some more capable SUVs out there, but I don't know, the Everest is a pretty good benchmark for this.
Okay, it's my turn behind the wheel of the Everest.
Also known as Drei's Revenge. I was expecting to be thrown around a little bit more, but you know what, it's not bad at all. The seats are nice and comfy too. Yeah, I like the seats. You know, they take the brunt out of the harshness and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm looking at you in the rear view mirror, and maybe it just looks worse for me because I'm taller. But handling wise, I actually really think this is gonna beat the Fortuner.
If the Fortuner is the only SUV you've ever driven, you'll probably say, hey, this is alright.
Yeah.
But in comparison to something like this, maybe you're gonna have some second thoughts about it.
So, are you ready to switch? Now it's time for my revenge, or maybe not, who knows, maybe the new suspension setup that Toyota has given might do wonders for Anton's back while we go through this car. So, Anton, be sure to let us know what it feels like back there.
Yeah, I'm already
yeah, I mean,
I'm already pitching more than in the Everest.
And
already.
we're just getting started.
I can feel more of the road vibrations back here,
Yeah,
and through some ruts and whatnot. I'm getting thrown around more. Oh,
yeah, I mean, even I can feel it from up front here.
And we're not exaggerating the movements here. Okay, this is us being genuinely thrown around inside, and that's the odd thing. And I can see you being tossed around, and normally it's more comfortable in the front than in the back. Okay, so how about handling?
It's definitely heavier. And on hard soil like the one we're driving on right now, I actually do wish that it was a bit lighter, because maybe in normal driving conditions you're not gonna notice too quickly, but this does take a toll on you.
But I am jealous of your brakes, I will admit that, and your power. But I'm not jealous of you bringing this home tonight. When
Yeah,
it
my
comes
back
to
is
ride.
already killing me. Oh.
Okay,
Censor
guys,
that.
bleep
censor
that out,
bleep that
guys.
out. Up the mound again.
I noticed that the firmness of the suspension is a little bit more felt compared to the Everest. The Everest didn't really lift the wheel going up there. This one I felt like it lifted it a little bit more.
How are you doing?
I also noticed that the seat padding is thinner in this one. So I can feel everything. Alright, so time to switch seats, and now I'm in front here in the Fortuner GRS, and Drei is now behind me. Now, before we switch seats, Drei did tell me to have mercy on his back, and probably a sore too. Okay, so yeah, definitely heavier steering
I think
here.
I'm gonna have to use the grab handle over here.
Okie dokie, the first turn. Take this.
Yep.
There's more vertical lateral movement there. Felt the roll right then and there. Yep, more of the ruts, more of the vibration.
Oh,
Yeah, it's more vibrations being caused to the steering, and the steering's more affected by the ruts and the bumps. That wasn't really the case in the Everest.
I can't even talk.
And we're gonna have to bleep out Jesus, another thing here. But what I really noticed here was the steering kickback on rougher surfaces. Also, the steering is a bit slower compared to Drei can't even talk anymore.
And we're not going that fast, guys. It's like 20 to 30.
I'm doing 20 kilometers per hour. Okay, it's conclusive, guys.
So now,
Yeah, the Everest definitely wins the ride and handling department.
stop.
Okay, the Everest wins ride and handling, and we're gonna move on to the next test.
My neck hurts. If you ever find yourself out on the trail, chances are you're going to run across a steep climb or two. For test number 4, we're going to see what the differentials are made of and test the vehicle's engine capabilities and suspension.
So we found our incline. This is the steepest we can find. It's dry, and honestly I would have wished that it was raining, or at least it would have been wet, just to make it a little bit more of a challenge. Okay, so we hold it a little bit, and very minimal pedal input. Really, it's not a struggle going up here at all. This is child's play for the Everest, or more likely the Fortuner too. But if you try this in a two-wheel drive, you're probably going to scramble for traction a little bit. But with these four-wheel drives, not at all. Right, so that was the climb done, and let's do the hill descent. Okay, maybe it's working a little too well. I'm just going to give it some gas a little bit here. Right, so it's a 16-degree climb and a 16-degree descent. And yeah, it's keeping us steady at a heady 2 kilometers per hour. So yeah, the hill descent control works very well in the Everest. Right, it's the Fortuner's turn then.
And it's my turn to go through the 4th test, which is hill descent control and hill climb. I'm just gonna stop as soon as I get right over here by the incline. Full stop, and let's go. No problem so far. Everything's smooth. Well, 201 horsepower and 500 Nm should be enough. Okay, it's getting pretty steep and still no problems from the Fortuner. And we're over it. No issues whatsoever. We're gonna be going downhill now and trying out hill descent control. I'm gonna get over here and activate hill descent control. Okay, it's on now. And I'm not gonna be applying any brakes. This is all going to be the Fortuner's hill descent control feature. So far so good. No jerkiness. And smooth, no problems at all. Okay, so we're gonna make our way back up towards the start of the course. And I'm gonna ask Anton how he fared with the top-spec Everest.
So we're back here at the camping grounds, got the whole day testing. And before we choose a winner, let's do a quick recap first.
Yeah.
Right, so acceleration.
The Fortuner GRS did it in around 4.6 seconds. What did the Everest do?
The Everest did 5.1 seconds.
So half a second is...
That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. So we're gonna have to give it to the Fortuner.
Yeah, and that's a landslide for the Fortuner, definitely. And we mentioned that, you know, the Everest weighs about 300 kilograms more. And that was a huge shock for Drei because this is about 2,100 kilograms, the Fortuner. The Everest is almost 2,500, 2,477 to be exact. And that also affected the second test.
Yeah, braking. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the video, it's clear which is hands down the winner. It's the Fortuner GRS.
Yeah, and on top of the enhanced brakes in the GRS, even the standard Fortuners do well in braking. I remember the first drive way back in 2016. This thing, like when you stamp on the brakes, it really just hurls you forward. And yeah, these things always had good brakes, so that's something I won't take away from the Fortuner.
So far, things are looking good for the Fortuner. What's the next test?
Okay, so the next test is comfort. So for comfort, okay, let's give props to the Fortuner here because alam naman natin the Fortuner always had the reputation for being matagtag. But the GRS rides better than the G or the V or the LTD. But
let's just say the Everest still beats it in that department.
yeah. I mean, you saw
it's improved, but yeah, compared to the Everest, it's still the Everest. So
yeah, that's something that the Fortuner never really was able to shake off. That whole tag thing. The Everest, it's just way more comfortable.
Yeah.
And the seats are softer, they're more supportive, the padding's thicker. So comfort, definitely the Everest. So the next test is handling. And yeah, the Everest also wins that. But that's sort of expected because it's newer. The light steering, yeah, that's
easier.
Yeah, it's easier.
Takes less of a toll on you off-road, definitely.
Yes. Even on loose surfaces, this thing just, it grips a bit better. There's less roll around the bends compared to the Fortuner. The Fortuner, even with those dampings, you can feel the side sway, you can feel the pitch, you can feel the roll.
Although I think I have to say that some people might prefer heavier steering when they're maneuvering over softer surfaces, but that's pretty much down to preference, really.
What's surprising is, despite this one riding softer, it still handled better. Normally, a firmer suspension would mean better handling. Although, credit to the GRS, it does handle better than standard Fortuners. Again, the Everest is different. It's just up there. Right, so hill descent and uphill. If you guys are hearing a couple of people in the background, they're happy campers right now. But
yeah.
Anyway, with the Fortuner, I noticed even in our handling tests, every time you hit a rut in the Fortuner, the steering would just kick back.
Yeah.
It would react to whatever road imperfections it would have. It would just follow that way. Going up that hill, that characteristic was also there. If you're gonna tackle tougher terrain in the Fortuner, you need a bit of a firmer arm and a hold on it just so it doesn't kick back as much.
That's another thing that takes its toll on you if you're driving something with heavier steering like the Fortuner over here.
The Everest, it didn't react as much, and because of the lighter steering, the steering doesn't kick as much. And I also noticed that the Fortuner needed a little bit more revs compared to the Ford. So maybe by a hair, I would give it to the Ford because this has more grunt because it's carrying less weight. And I think it can just shoot up faster. But you gotta hold on to it talaga.
Yeah.
Compared to the Everest. The Everest might struggle with its weight a little bit more, but it's probably less effort. Right, so far it's 3 for Ford, 2 for Toyota. And now let's talk value for money.
Okay.
Right, so how much is the Fortuner?
It's just a hair under 2.6 million, which is kind of pricey for a 6-year-old SUV.
Yeah, so that's 2595. This is 2495. I have a bit of a chin scratch about the pricing of the Fortuner because it's a couple of years old already.
Yeah.
And it's 100,000 more expensive than the Ford. And the Ford has more equipment, more tech, more features, more advancements.
It's newer.
Yeah, basically that's it. Yeah, so 4-2,
Yeah.
the overall score. So we will have to give the win to the Ford Everest Titanium Plus 4x4.
So yeah, that wraps it up for this edition of the Big Test.
So I'm Anton.
And I'm Drei, and this is the
Big Test.